Hello and welcome to a new edition of Design for the Times. I'm your host, Richard Christopher Scuderi. I always say that this is going to be my clubhouse. If you watch Andy Cohen on Bravo, he has his clubhouse. Well, this is my clubhouse. And one of the things when you own the house is you get to have guests back as a repeat. And one of the guests that I had on that I was very happy with, that I wanted to have back to talk about 2020 now and the spring market is Bill Scott, and he's with RE/MAX Realtors in the Keyport area in the Bayshore. Welcome back to our program.
Great to see you again, Richard.
Happy New Year. Can you still say Happy New Year? I always said, I remember my mom being a kid, and it would be January, it'd be like the third or fourth week, and she would see people, and she'd say Happy New Year. Is that still appropriate?
I think till January 31st.
Oh, yeah, all right. So we're going to squeak out a Happy New Year. I really wanted to talk today about 2020, the shore market. This will probably air a little bit later than right now, but right now we're having record good weather. So I would imagine, and we talked about this a little bit on the way down to the station, that your spring market is probably starting a little bit earlier right now for the shore. Is that true?
Yes, definitely. And the shore market is affected by weather. If we get a heavy snowstorm, it shuts us down for a couple of weeks. But because the winter's been mild, we're seeing record activity.
I would imagine so. And another thing that we had talked about a little bit earlier on the radio broadcast that I do is that interest rates are staying low.
Yes, almost approaching record lows again. And that just gives people more buying power and helps first-time home buyers get into the game.
Now, Bill, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about where you're specifically located, and then we'll talk a little bit about the Bayshore market, and then, of course, style in the shore.
Sure. So RE/MAX Imperial, we have offices in Hazlet, Keyport, and soon to be opening in both Union Beach and Aberdeen. So we're really in that Bayshore area, which stretches from Keyport in the north to Sandy Hook in the Highlands in the south.
Great area, which I'm very, very fond of. I think people are starting to understand the Bayshore more, don't you?
Yes, I mean, the biggest thing about the Bayshore versus the Jersey Shore is affordability.
Right.
So, and it's also happens to be located adjacent to New York City, so you've got spectacular city views
right?
At virtually half the cost of being on the Atlantic Ocean on the Jersey Shore.
Every year I take a season pass down to the Huck because I don't get down the shore that much. I work all the time, but sometimes on a Monday I'll take a half day. I'll work in my office in the morning and I'll take the half day and I'll go down and I'll do a walk or a run on the beach and go as far as I could possibly go to the end of the Huck. And then when you turn around, you're looking at New York City. Like, what could be better than that? I mean, and everything's in front of you and you're looking at that Verrazano Bridge as if you could physically go under it. It looks so close. There's nothing quite like that. You go further down in the shore, you don't get that.
No, and that Sandy Hook Seashore Park is just a national
If you want to bike, if you want to
treasure.
hike, if you just want to walk, what a great place to do it at.
I mean, there's beaches dedicated to fishing.
Right.
It's an unbelievable resource and probably underutilized.
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit about the Bayshore region. It starts with the town of Keyport, right? So that's the gateway to the Bayshore. That's the beginning. Then it goes to Union Beach.
Yes.
Now, we talked a little bit in the earlier broadcast about Union Beach was very heavily affected by the storm. Now, that's very bad for the people that lived there, but what's good for the town, I would imagine, is the renewal because those structures are being rebuilt, and a town now is getting a second chance with a new wave of the best building, right? So the town probably actually looks improved and more beautiful than it did before the storm.
You're exactly right. I mean,
Right.
80% of the homes were damaged or destroyed there. So a new building comes in, and it's all regulated by FEMA. So everything is 8 to 15 feet up in the air.
It's amazing.
Brand new construction.
Right.
All a shore type style. And their goal is to really become the Point Pleasant of the Bayshore region.
Sure. Well, new construction and new money come in. I think that then more sophisticated businesses, and that is probably quite possible.
Absolutely, and we're seeing a new clientele coming from the north and using the town as even as second homes, as beach homes.
Terrific.
Because of the accessibility, we're only 20 minutes from Sandy Hook.
Yeah, it's just terrific. So just go down a couple of towns, and then we'll go on to a little bit about style. So then after it would be Union Beach, which you said was affected the worst. What's next?
Right, would be Keansburg.
That's
and then
Keansburg,
down
okay.
to Middletown, and
Okay.
Keansburg's in a revitalization itself, not to
Sure.
the extent of other towns.
And if you're in the Middletown area, it's kind of neat because then you can go out towards the Navesink. I just the other day was meeting a client in Red Bank.
Okay.
At what's the hotel? The Molly Pitcher.
Oh, great.
there's so much to do down there, right? And it's
Oh,
also
yeah.
close to each other.
Yes, and of course, my picture, spectacular river views.
Right.
And that river, Navesink River, comes down right to the ocean in Rumson, where again, you get some beautiful shore style and coastal style homes.
And also Middletown is great because that's a jumping off point, because I think that's one of the ports where the ferry goes out, right?
Correct. So you've got a ferry in Middletown to
Right.
New York City, as well as down in Atlantic Islands.
And then take us down a little bit further beyond Middletown.
So beyond Middletown, you really hit Atlantic Islands and the Highlands.
Highlands, right.
Great shore vistas from the homes, and again, super restaurants, a very vibrant social scene.
What I like to do, even out of season, I like to, whether we have clients or just friends, is go down to bars, which has been there for as long as I can remember, sit on the dock, have a shrimp cocktail, have some beers, have drinks, and just hang out there. You feel like you're in another place and time. It's like being on vacation.
It really is. And I really love bars off season because it's not quite as crowded.
October's the best month.
Exactly.
Right.
And even
You're
winter.
looking at that new bridge.
Right.
It's amazing.
Right. Even winter, get a cup of their crab chowder and just chill out. It's a great
Yeah.
spot.
No, it's a great spot. So let's talk a little bit about coastal style for 2020. Now, one of the things that you really bring to the table is, because you're representing all that new housing, you're seeing the best and the newest building materials. So this relates to people that want to buy down the shore, but it also relates to anybody that likes coastal style or new building materials. So I want to start because let's say that one town that you sell in Union Beach, 80% is new construction. So they're not building them the way they built before, they're building different. So I wanted to start with the exteriors of homes. What are they cladding the new construction with? Are they using sort of a cementatious board? What are the outside, especially because the shore you contend with weather, what are they doing the outside of the houses with?
Primarily, it is the vinyl siding.
Still vinyl?
Still vinyl with
Okay.
the architectural shingle fronts.
Okay.
But we're starting to see the hardy board or the cement fireboards start to come in as well.
Right.
And those products are becoming more affordable too.
Now, because in the new construction now, because you have to be up, are builders, or maybe in the higher quality homes that are on the water, are they doing with the garage level, which is underneath, are they doing some sort of a stone facade or ledge stone on something to dress it up in the front?
Yes, the ledge stone dresses it up. Some of them, depending on the zone, some of the walls are breakaway, some of them are solid foundations. But the field stone, or the stack stone, as I like to call it, it really sets the house apart.
And then we're seeing a lot of the blues and the grays still, I think, probably with crisp white
Absolutely.
trim and
Yes.
so on.
The white 5-inch corners and the blue, any shade of marine blue.
Right.
And then even tie in the stone with that, it just really makes an excellent curb appeal.
We had talked earlier that I'm renovating a shore home now down in Manasquan, and I had to order a new front door and new windows. And when I went to order the windows, I noticed that even on this one particular street of homes, the mullions are a little bit different down there. Most people had, the top was 9 lights, or it's divided 9 ways, and the bottom was clear. And the man at the lumberyard said to me, "Oh, that's very much a shore look, 9 over nothing." And then you said something that surprised me. You see it both ways, right? Depending upon what your view is, and that's the reason, so it's unobstructed.
Correct, and that's really become popular in, I would say, the last 2 seasons down, building seasons down there.
Right.
Both Anderson and J. Weld make a great product.
What about, and I didn't get to ask you this before, I always remember being a kid, going over the Brielle Bridge, driving down to Point Pleasant and through that nook where it's real narrow, where you have some of the best houses in Bay Head and Manaloking, and you'd see the old school, beautiful awnings, right? The awnings.
Right.
You think that's going to come back? I know the negativity of that is that it brings darkness inside the house a little bit, but the look I want to bring back. In fact, I'm going to try to talk to my clients and doing it on their porch to dress it up. What do you think about the look of awnings on a shore home?
It's a classic look.
Don't
from
you
New
think
England through New Jersey, even down south. Starting to see a little bit of it.
Not a lot, though.
No, not a lot, but you could be a pioneer in that.
That's what it is, right? So you drive through those towns to this day. In fact, I was early to the appointment, so I drove down a little bit on 35. And you go through Bay Head, you go through Manaloking, and you see those old gray shore houses with the beautiful siding, the original siding that weathered to gray, the cedar siding, and then they have that sort of pajama stripe or blue or green awning, and there's nothing like it, right?
It really pops. The new constructions, it's
They're
tough to
not
convince.
seeing that.
Well, and it's tough to convince somebody to go to those wooden shakes or the cedar shakes
Well,
just for maintenance purposes.
I do think that James Hardie and the other manufacturer, I can't think of the top of my head now, does make a cement board, right? A cement siding that has the look of that now, the
Correct,
cedar look.
they do, and so you get the best of both worlds.
Right.
But
Let's talk about landscaping. You know, when I'm down the shore and I see sandy soil, I notice that people that have mature landscapes do very well with the rugosa rose. You know, that rose that looks like a ball like that, and hydrangeas seem to love the sandy soil.
Correct.
But what in sort of a shorescape where you see, you know, when builders build to get their CO, they have to have some sort of something on the ground, right, just for CO.
Correct.
Are we seeding? Are we doing a different type of grass seed? What are we doing for landscapes in the shore region?
For the front of the house, they're doing a lot of stone work with natural or indigenous seagrasses
Right.
and sea oats, and boy, that's just a phenomenal
Great looking
look.
and architectural and low maintenance, right?
Very low maintenance. Backyards, people are still very traditional. It seems like everybody these days has a dog or two.
More than ever.
So we're doing traditional grass, and typically the builders will sod.
Right.
So they have a nice instant lawn for their customers.
Let's talk about decking. You know, one of the things that stands out in my mind as being sort of a win-win, if you have to rebuild your house and you have the money to do it, now how far in the air are we when we're going to level 1?
Right. In some cases, as high as 18 feet.
My goodness. Well, if you're looking at New York City, doesn't that make your views even that much better?
Spectacular.
So having these terrific decks probably on the back or the front of your house to access the view must be a big deal. What are you seeing in decking? Are they doing the Trex? Are they doing some sort of a fiber?
Typically, because of cost and the size of a deck that big, they'll do the wood, okay, from the ground, and
Sure.
then they'll clad the top deck with a Trex or Trex-like product. But we're seeing a
Right.
lot of vinyl railings, seeing some wire inner railings as well, which
Little bit on the
really look
contemporary
modern.
side, yeah, more on the
Seeing
contemporary side.
Shore tends to lag a little bit on that, but I am starting to see it.
Let's talk about the interior of homes. Now, one of the things that we talked about earlier, which I see trending everywhere, is a more open floor plan. So a newer house is just going to automatically, I think, have an open floor plan. Is that what you're seeing with all the new construction down the shore?
Right, and I joke with a couple of my builders, we can't make it open enough. We've had open floor plans and had people take down a knee wall and interior wall so that their family room is literally 38 feet from the front of the house to the back of the house, opening up to the kitchen, which to me is a lot of open space.
You better have that neat, right?
Right,
Yeah.
but this is what clients want.
Sure. Now, what about, are they, because we're going up and we're building the lots typically down the shore are narrow, so I would imagine we're not seeing ranches, we're seeing houses that have a second floor with the bedrooms, is that correct?
Right, and some of these lots are as small as 25 feet wide.
Yeah.
So then because of setbacks, you're really looking at a 17-foot wide house. So you've got to do the
You gotta
second
go up.
story,
Yeah.
and that's where you typically will find 3 bedrooms and 2 full baths.
Because we're down the shore, because we're dealing with sand and elements, what are most people these days, new construction, the builders doing for flooring?
Flooring, and we always joke about this, but they still see a number of traditional hardwoods, but starting to see more of the engineered floors.
Right.
And what I really like and becoming more and more popular is the ceramic tile made to look like wood.
Sure, and I want to talk a little bit about that. I like the tile that looks like wood if that's the only thing you do.
Right.
The problem comes is that it became popular and then the quality got better and better. So people were having hardwood floors in their house, and then in the new areas they're replacing their tile with tile that looks like wood, and that's a miss, right?
Right.
So if you're going to deal with ceramic tile, which I would personally choose, if you're going to deal with ceramic tile for a shore house that looks like wood, you have to carry that straight through.
Correct. A lot of times, especially first-time home buyers, are concerned about that. But remember, you've got an island,
Right.
9 times out of 10, or a breakfast bar that's going to provide that break,
Right.
so that you just don't see a bowling alley effect.
Exactly.
And you need to
exactly.
convince them of that.
Let's talk about cabinets down the shore and what people are doing. I don't see white shaker cabinets going away anytime soon.
No.
But what I do see is some new trends, at least I think, for coastal for 2020. One is I'm seeing where people are doing the uppers in white now, and then they're doing the lowers in a color. Most common gray, but I have had a couple of new clients that are interested in trying some navy. Have you seen anybody do the navy cabinet yet?
Yeah, so one of the houses we're going to take a look at, the woman had a great design, and that's what he did. It was basically a navy, almost to a charcoal on the center island. She did keep the white lowers, and that was a very interesting look. Or we're finally starting to get some of the gray cabinets.
Okay, so we have a shot up. Let's see if we can go through them a little bit. We go to the next one, maybe take a look at that. We're there. Okay, so let's look at it. Now, this is a shore kitchen.
Right.
Beautiful wood floor. It doesn't look like engineered. It looks like it's a regular wood floor. The classic white cabinets. It looks like there's quartz.
Correct. And if you look at the insert, and this is a very innovative builder we have, that is a barista bar.
Okay.
In the kitchen.
Okay.
Because as we were talking, espresso, coffee.
Coffee is everything
It's
now.
everything. So if you'll notice, they put some glass cabinets up there as well as a wine rack. So you almost have your entertainment center, a couple extra plugs for the Keurig or your espresso machine. And this is becoming wildly popular with the new home buyers.
I want to talk a little bit about that picture. There's a new trend starting to happen with flooring. Although I still like dark hardwood floors, I'm starting to see light come back again. And there's a variation where people choosing dark or choosing light or somewhere in between. In this particular case, is that a gray floor? It's kind of hard for me to tell in the picture.
Yes, and it is. I mean, I'm tickled that you say that it's a hardwood floor because that's actually an engineered floor, and that's how well the quality and the look of engineered flooring is coming.
The quality has gotten much better. We do see some of the trends that are happening all over, which of course is the white cabinet, the quartz, right, with the whites and grays. It looks to me that the refrigerator here is sort of a built-in cabinet depth. Are you noticing now that everything is flush in the new kitchens?
That's what they're going for. Also, I mean, this is a traditional stainless steel, but we're starting to see that charcoal color stained steel, which really looks sharp in a kitchen.
They refer to that often as black stainless. And I had a lady recently whose kitchen, I did a high-end kitchen, and she just hated the look of stainless steel. She didn't like fingerprints, she didn't like it, so we did the black stainless. I don't think that's trending yet, though. I talk people into try to going a little bit outside of that. I don't think that's quite there yet, but I think it will be because I think people get tired of the same old and everybody wants to reinvent themselves.
Right. The other thing I'm seeing, if we could go to the previous slide.
Can we go back? Okay,
there
great.
There you go, are the free-floating mantles or kitchen fireplaces.
You're not seeing, mantles 10 years ago were so formal. I would see some of these builders that had built in the 90s and the early 2000s, and their family room mantle had crown and dental molding on it, and it was so formal, and it had some sort of granite or marble around it. The new fireplaces are much more transitional. Like this is a great example where you have this sort of the stone there, and there's a barn beam, right?
Right. So I love this shot because you see the original distress wood barn timber from start to finish. And another trend we're seeing is to put the fireplaces in a kitchen.
Yeah, I see that right next to the end of the cabinets.
Exactly. So,
are you seeing that the new builders are putting fireplaces in short house? I like the idea for resale of a fireplace, especially if someone's going to be there, year round in the winter months. Are people asking for fireplaces at the shore?
They are, and because more of these houses are becoming year-round residents, it's great to have either in the kitchen or as a centerpiece in the family room.
This is a good shot because it's an exterior shot, and we look at the vinyl clad white railings there, right?
Right.
We look at the siding. Now that looks like vinyl to me.
Yeah. So what that is, and this is a look that's become very popular. So it's a hardwood or treated wood deck, and then they coat the outside with different kind of vinyl treatments for the look they want to achieve.
And then I see the marine blue there. I had always thought, to be honest with you, that they were going more towards the cement board, the composite board, as opposed to vinyl, because I thought the heat and vinyl with the expanding and contraction wasn't that good at the shore.
Right. Well, they've improved the product, and
vinyl siding is much better than it used to be.
Right. It still is a cost-effective product for the builders. This one I also like. They actually used a darker, almost black stacked stone.
I like that
accent as well. And again, with the big extra wide white trims around the windows, really pops.
Also, I notice in the shot the trend towards the panel shutter as opposed to the louvered shutter.
Yes.
Because when you have the lines of the siding, you want to have that solid, and that makes a little bit of difference.
Right. And also for maintenance, we still get heavy pollen down at the coastal areas. And when you've got those louvered, it's almost impossible to keep clean. This is my happy couple of the year.
They look pretty
were
happy.
Thrilled to get
I'd be happy if I had a shore house.
Yeah, thrilled to get this home. And I kind of specialize in first-time home buyers. Because of our price points, they don't realize they can have something either coastal or on a lake for under $500,000.
And that in itself, the combination of being sometimes with New York City views, which is unheard of, right? Waterfront and new construction. So this is a weird time that this is even possible with low interest rates. So it really is time to buy.
Oh, it definitely is.
And now, right? And now's the time to do that.
Especially in the shore, we've talked about this before, but you're never going to find lower prices for coastal properties as you will between December and March. Once the season, there's a hint of the season starting.
It goes up. It's like buying a convertible. Buy your convertible now, put it down the
Exactly.
shore. Let's go to the next screen, see what else we have going here. Okay, that's a little bit on your information, which you can give. We're a little early,
Yeah, I mean, I'm like everybody else. Call my cell phone, 732-832-1225. Also, my email's real easy. It's billscottrealtor@yahoo.com.
Let's go to the next screen, which I think is the first one, which is, no, okay, that's a little bit more about that. And then let's go to the next. Okay, I know who that guy is. And then one more time. No, the first shot I wanted to go back to, that was the one that had the, yes,
There you go.
okay, the exteriors of the houses. So do they range from about 12 to about 18 feet? Is there a minimum standard how high the foundation can be depending upon, because aren't there grades of where you are, zone 1, zone 2?
Correct,
So
yes.
your zone 1, your waterfront, that's 18 feet?
Usually, and usually you cannot have a firm foundation. You've got to have pilings, either strictly or pilings with breakaway walls.
Talk about how the breakaway walls work.
Breakaway walls, it's an interior construction. So basically designed, the house is sitting on pilings.
Right,
You don't see them because you've got a traditional foundation around it.
right.
But that's a porous foundation.
The water goes through.
Exactly. And if the water pressure builds up, the walls are not as reinforced, so they are designed to break away.
Right.
But your house is sitting safely on pilings. And everyone sees 18 feet of piling above the ground.
Right.
There's double that. There's 36 feet below the ground.
Wow.
So those houses are built to withstand.
Well, these insurance companies know what they're doing. They're not going to reinsure people unless they feel that they're safe and protected.
Exactly. But on both these houses, it's hard to see, but you've got the stack stone below the decks. You can see the proximity to the water. The one on the right is literally 2 blocks away in Union Beach. And there's a tiki bar down there. Seasonally, they walk to the beach, the bathing beach. And again, that's priced at under $500,000.
Is the old-fashioned Keensburg amusement park still there?
Still there, still improving. They've made some improvements with bars and restaurants around the Keensburg. So there's a whole revitalization going on down there.
I really want to, and I encourage people to take a ride if we have as we've been having these weekend days that are so warm, take a ride and start at Keensburg. Is there a road, you know how the shore goes, not 36, but is there like a local road you kind of can go through the bay shore and sort of hug the coast?
Right. Unfortunately, there's not. You've got to jump off on 36 and go to each town.
Right.
There is a road on the water between Keyport down to Keensburg. Once you get to Keensburg, you've got to come back out onto 36. So it has different names, Front Street or Ocean Avenue.
Right.
We'll at least get you the first 3 towns, and then you've got to come back and off of Route 36.
And I did think on the bay shore, maybe even along 36, isn't this sort of a bike route if you want to bike?
Phenomenal bike route, the Henry Hudson Trail that starts from Keyport all the way to Sandy Hook.
Right.
I tell everybody it's a great ride down because it's downhill. It's a little tough going back because I believe it's 14 miles.
That's when you do Uber, right? Make
Exactly.
sure they put the bike on it.
Exactly. But just a real treasure, that road, that bike path.
Wonderful. And then I talked about something which is probably an old dive, but there's supposedly, I think Keensburg has a fish fry.
Well, the fish fry you return for it is
Keyport.
in Keyport.
Right.
Legendary.
That's been there forever. It didn't wash away.
Right. A nice old clapboard building, phenomenal fresh fish.
I want to do that. So which town in the Bay Shore did the best as far as less damage? It really depended how it went in.
Right. Keyport fared pretty well.
Is that because of how it sat?
Yeah, it's kind of right. Middletown did okay, but anything on the water, had a significant amount of damage.
If you're not fortunate enough, we've only about 3 minutes left, but if you're not fortunate enough to be able to afford new construction and you're buying a resale down the shore, anything that you're seeing that people are doing to their resales to make them compete with, now you have, one town is 80% with all new construction, you're trying to sell your house down the shore and you didn't get affected, which is already a good thing, right? Because you're not in a flood zone. How do you compete? Any things that you're seeing as trending that they can do that besides maybe recladding or maybe repainting in a marine color, a gray, a blue with white trim, anything?
Well, the reclad is important. I mean, we've got NAR statistics saying that people are making their minds up in the 30 seconds from they walk to the curb to the house.
You have to have curb appeal, especially if you're competing with new construction.
Correct. And then the other thing is the kitchen. I mean, you've got to bring the kitchen into at least a granite or quartz finish with some sort of updating of the cabinets.
Definitely. Are floors a hot topic for people when they look at a house?
They're a consideration. We see people more fascinated with the kitchens, master bedroom as well.
What about on the second floor? What are people doing for flooring on the second floor on a different level? Are they still doing first floor wood, second floor not wood, or is it all wood throughout now?
You're seeing more of a trend to all wood throughout just because of the advent of everyone seems to have more allergies these days.
Exactly.
But you still have some people that want the warmth of a carpet in the bedroom.
Right.
So, but definitely a trend towards the hardwoods.
Exactly. And I think it's probably cleaner and a longer shelf life because carpet, has a shelf life.
Sure.
You have company people coming through and so on. So Bill, we're just about a minute left. Let's talk about, again, you represent all of the shore, but you represent the Bayshore region specifically where you're located. So that's starting up at Keyport and kind of going down to the Highlands, before it sort of turns in the Bayshore region.
Right.
How can we reach you?
My cell phone, 732-832-1225 is the best number. But I do encourage you to give me a call because if I have 10 listings, I have 10 in my back pocket that haven't seen the light of the MLS. So if you work with me, I can give you those and you don't compete against other buyers.
Right, because you've been doing this a long time and then you have that added insight. And it really makes a difference who you choose, especially in such a competitive market when you're dealing with waterfront, representing yourself with somebody that knows the difference to get you the deal, for sure.
Excellent.
And the name of your agent, it's Imperial. I never say it right. Okay,
so it's Remax Imperial. And we have offices Hazlitt, Keyport, and then opening in Union Beach and Aberdeen.
And then your website?
Website is wescottconstruction.net.
Wow.
So you'll see the new homes on that as well.
Exactly. And probably just maybe set up an appointment with you, take a ride down, get educated, do that Bayshore region, right? Go from end to end, make an afternoon of it.
Right, which is how you and I met back in 2012. So, exactly.
Well, thank you very much.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We'll see you.